Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea Necchiarico, and today I'd like to continue speaking about our hidden history and Tartaria and mud floods, resets, basically what we started discussing in the last and second to last video. So this video continues from the previous video, so you might want to watch that first. We were talking about the mud floods, how they came about, why they were used, who used them, whether the light team or the dark team, how do they affect our reality? Do we have to be affected by them at all? And so now we continue on that line. Before we move into the content of the video, though, I'd like to ask you to please like and share this video. And also, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so, and do leave me a comment because I'm very curious to see how this stuff resonates with you and if it's interesting to you. All right, so when I say Carolyn, I'm speaking about my hypnotist asking me the questions. And when I say me, I'm referring to myself under hypnosis, answering on behalf of the 25th dimension. So Carolyn is asking, so who are the game changers? Who sets up these resets? Me. We are the game changers, not necessarily collectively though. So a team might come up with a new rule, and all it's doing is offering this new idea to the planet. You can take it, you don't have to take it. These are all ideas, so you don't have to participate. So the reset, a lot of people participated in it. Some people just left, and some other people didn't, weren't really affected. There were people that were doing well before, were doing well after. So it's not a matter of, it's not an imposition necessarily. We have wanted to believe certain things. And initially, when you change things, it's exciting. You get to deal with something new. Except that over time, again, we've gotten bored of this because every time there's a reset, it all ends up going really south. And that's why we're not doing this anymore. Clearly, these resets are not that interesting anymore. So that's also deja vu, something we've done enough times that we're like, okay, if not even this is working now, then we're just moving on. They're referring to, which again, I explained in my previous video, just very briefly, they're referring to the fact that the very first reset was created by the mud flood, was created by the light team because the game was going south and we figured we might be able to salvage the game by resetting it. But once we came up with this idea of resets, of course, the dark started doing them themselves. And so really, we ended up in an even worse place than we were before. So these resets don't really work anymore. Carolyn. So in the same aspect, the word game changer keeps coming up. In the ultimate question, I think here is, in the Journey of Soul, he writes, so the author of the Journey of Souls writes in regards to that as we're learning as souls in between lives, that we're actually projected into particular spaces and time that we can look in on and decide where we want to be. Is that considered game changing, or is that just singular essences able to go into lives that are agreed upon? Which she's referring to, there is a book that's fairly popular in New Age spirituality. It's called A Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. He was a hypnotist as well, not a QHHT. And I apologize, my nose is super itchy today. I don't know what they're spraying. I don't know what is going on out there. So he's very popular. I didn't know about this book until recently. I was told about this book by 3 different people. And normally when 2 people in short order tell me about something, I'll go and check it out. So I figured it was supposed to come to my attention. So I actually read it. It was very, very interesting. But again, Michael Newton is a hypnotist, but not a QHHT hypnotist. Here's the difference is that QHHT hypnosis is done through the use of your own higher self to go into the higher self of the person you're hypnotizing. And I'm simplifying things here. Whereas general hypnosis doesn't quite work that way. It's almost like you're only allowed to go 1 or 2 layers deep. I'm using numbers to give you an idea. It does not necessarily, I'm trying to quantify to give you an idea. So say regular hypnosis goes 2 levels deep. QHHT is able to go 7 levels deep, whereas normally you're not allowed to do that. But again, Dolores Cannon, when she came up with this concept, she actually was guided to do it by her own higher self. And I think it's because this kind of information needed to come out, and a lot of these things are only coming out now because it's time. It's time for everybody to be aware. This is a game for the people who are looking for this type of information. Not everybody needs this type of information. Not everybody will even allow this type of information into their field, for the simple reason, if they've chosen to continue in a 3D simulation after we take this down, they're not going to want to believe these things. They don't want to know that this is a game. Okay. So most of the people who are going to find this video and are going to be attracted to this information are either going to New Earth, or they're part of the almost 50% of human population who's actually going to hang out with aliens. So they already have a higher consciousness, is really awareness, a higher level of awareness than 3D. And that obviously includes you, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this. So Carolyn is asking in regards to these game changers, who are these game changers? Are these people, and game changers is just a name given to people who would have caused the resets. Are these the people, like, is it us in between lives? So like it's described in the Journey of Souls, where basically he describes that in between lives, you have certain experiences, you review your life, you meet guides, you meet your soul pack that kind of goes from life, you know, that lives existence with you, and that kind of thing. And so she's asking, so are these just individual souls looking in, or is it actually a bunch of us getting together and deciding to do this reset? Me. When we talk about game changers, so what some people on the internet are calling game changers, what they're referring to, they're talking about the teams. So the light and dark team. So when they talk about these game changers, sometimes people refer to, they think it's all of us collectively, but they're saying, no, it's either going to be one team or the other. There is not a collective involvement. Carolyn, she's talking about, so this person that has been talking about the game changers specifically, she's talking about the whole teams. Me, correct. So the team of the dark comes up with an idea, and then they propagate it, meaning they manifest it. They offer it as an option to humanity. Humanity then decides whether to believe it or not collectively. There is no such thing. You could have 2 billion people believing something. You could be the only person who does not believe it, which means it's not true for you. So that's perfectly okay. We already discussed the fact that money was the only real game changer in that sense, because all of us are affected by this concept. The majority of other concepts, including wars, including famines, don't have to affect everybody equally. Even during resets, not everybody was affected equally. So these game changers she's talking about collectively, us, we decided. We did not decide on the reset. We did decide to accept the outcome of the reset, or at least most of us, or many of us did. Not everybody did. This idea that is very common, this idea that we as a collective all have to go in one direction, is incorrect. There would be no free will. The whole point of being here is that everyone gets to have a different experience. And therefore, that's why you and somebody else, very similar to you, might butt heads all day long on something that seems so obvious to you. But that's the whole point of the fun of the game. It would be very boring if you agreed with everything with everyone on everything. Not only, but we're all having all these different experiences. We find this to be a riot. Even the fact that somebody can have such a different experience from us. Remember, we're all one. So we all feel each other, even though we're not aware of it here. So we find this very entertaining. Imagine how multiplied your entertainment is when you're not only having your own experience, you're also experiencing what other 2 billion people different from you are experiencing. That's exactly what's going to happen on New Earth. You're going to experience 7 million different variations of the same experience. because only 7 million people are ever going to go to New York. Carolyn, amazing. So can you clarify for me? I felt like game changers and resetting occurred 2 different ways. Game changers, I felt like came from the dark side. It tended to be more dense energy. Me. When people on the internet talk about game changers, they're trying to say that we all, as a collective, created this reset. That is incorrect. These resets are normally created by one side or the other. Carolyn, but can be created by both. Me. We've never really had a reset that was created by both. The first reset was created by the light. We thought we were going to be able to recalibrate the game. It didn't happen because then the dark jumped in. They reset again. And we realized, now we show them this tool and they're like, why don't we use it? So it's always the imbalance, like the imbalance kept on going. So there are no real game changers. That's just a name that is being used. The reset makers, I mean, they could use any name really, but really they're referring to the teams that cause these changes. But again, the changes are not collective, meaning not everybody's affected equally because we never decided on them equally. They were initiated by one side, but then all of us as a collective, and they mean individually, all of us on planet Earth individually, we had a choice whether to believe it or not. And we did not decide as a collective, as a group, as a solid unit to say we're going to say yes or we're going to say no. This never happens. We have freedom of choice here, and everybody. This is why we're all going different places next. And this is what's happened before with other resets, that when things change, everybody chose, am I going to believe this? Am I going to be affected by this or not? So even after Atlantis fell, for example, not everybody that used to live in Atlantis was gone. They just dispersed in other areas. And over time, of course, they decided to leave and then incarnate in different guises. But there is no such thing as a collective decision to do something where everybody has to do the same thing. Carolyn. So these people who speak about these resets being needed to learn something or being done as a collective by the game changers, are they getting information from inside the matrix so that ascension makes sense as a game rule? Is ascension a game rule? Is ascension, I mean, is a concept? Is it a concept, ascension? Me. Yeah, it's not a reality. It's a game rule. Yeah, we choose to believe in ascension. And I am sorry if you hear noises. My chair is very squeaky today for some reason. Hopefully that's not, and I just heard a motorcycle go by. Hopefully that's not too loud. Carolyn, and where is she receiving her information from, this person who talks about game changers in particular? Me. She's sometimes tapping in from higher source. The problem that she has is that she interprets things through the eyes of the matrix and a lot of this new age spirituality. So she believes that the concept of ascension is real. And therefore she puts a premium on raising consciousness and all these things. We already explained there is no such thing. We don't have to be any certain way for things to happen the way they happen or they are going to happen. This will transpire even if all or almost all 2 billion people are asleep, because you don't have to have a physical manifestation of what your intention was or what your intention for the next step is. So this is important. You don't have to have a physical manifestation of what your intention was or what your intention for the next step is. However, in this particular case, we have a little bit of a particular situation because since we're moving on with our bodies, it is easier if we are in alignment with what we're going towards. And that's why this is showing up for many of us as a raising in consciousness. However, this is not because There is a cause and effect, but they are backwards. They have it backwards. The ascension symptoms, or the ascension manifestation, is ascension in people, raising frequency in people. It's an effect of what's happening. It's not the cause for why this is happening. It's not because of ascension that we're moving on. We were already moving on, and people are acting as if they're ascending and increasing in frequency because they're aligning where they're going. They are trying to explain that a lot of this, again, New Age spirituality, we're being told that we are ascending, we have to increase our light quotient. You hear a lot of talk about the light quotient, and all of this is necessary. This is why we're moving into a better reality for us as a collective, because they always talk about collectives, humanity as being one block, and then we're all going to the same place, and we're ascending, and because we're ascending, there's more light coming in, and therefore we're getting a certain result. What the 25th is trying to say, this is the exact opposite of reality. Reality is that we're taking this game down no matter what. We could all be asleep and the game will still be coming down because there's only one timeline set for the planet. Well, we have individual choice within our own timeline. The planet is only going in one direction. And because this is such an unusual way of moving on, which is we're taking our bodies. Normally these recalibrations are not done by taking your body. You normally do this, you're recalibrating between lives, between incarnations. So what happens now is that because a lot of us are going to higher awareness, what again in New Age spirituality would be called higher consciousness states, then we, in order not to have such a flagrant contrast, we basically are preparing by doing little steps in the direction of that higher awareness while we're still here, because we are moving on with our bodies. So we will remember all of this. So you don't just go overnight from being totally 3D, believing the narrative, believing the government is your friend, and all of a sudden tomorrow you're on New Earth. So this would be too much for us to handle. And so what we do is, if we know that we've chosen, and we do know that we've chosen to go to New Earth or to hang out with the aliens, we prepare ourselves for this lifetime. It doesn't have to start at birth, but you kind of prepare yourself mentally to be okay, to be open-minded, and to be okay with that scenario. And that's why a lot of us are quote unquote ascending or increasing our frequency and awareness, because this aligns with the places we're going to. We're going to be better able to understand things without being so traumatized. Okay, so this is the idea. Carolyn, oh yes, understood. Is it true that we must face adversities in order for us to evolve and grow as souls? Me, no. Carolyn, what is real about the history we are being told? Me, not much. Carolyn, was there even a prehistoric man who was not very smart and descended from an ape? Me, no. And they were laughing when they said this. Carolyn, thank you for that. I've never felt like I belonged to the ape family. Me, there were, we have changed physical shape here. We've done different experiments, and there were bodies here for us when we arrived. But it wasn't an evolution like it's been explained to us. But that is pretty funny, no? That's pretty entertaining. Carolyn, it is very entertaining, and many people like the entertainment. Me, there you go. Again, it's so fun. They do have a good time when they explain these things. All right, I'm gonna stop here because I think this video is getting pretty long, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I hope you are enjoying this communication from the 25th. I tend to read these things over and over because it does get to be so much information, because it is so different from a lot of the other sources that are available out there. But again, we all resonate with the information that's meant to take us to the place where we're going to. So most likely, if you're here, you're probably going to New Earth, even though that's not a given, for the simple reason that you only have to be 4D and above in order to go to New Earth. So 4D and above, you also could be going somewhere else. At any rate, if this does resonate with you, please let me know in the comments. I always love to hear from you, and I read every comment and reply as well. Thank you so much, and see you soon.